yeah, that's one way to ruin a show. Hello, my name is Darius and welcome to the review of House of Cards, mostly Season 6. So House of Cards centers around Frank Underwood and Claire Underwood, this power couple living in DC. And they are very good at playing the political game. We quickly find out that Frank Underwood is able to breaking the fourth wall, and it's like we are on this journey with him to see what kind of plan and demeanor he has for the American political system. And what kicked it off is that Frank Underwood helped putting the newly elected president in office, and he wants to be on the bill. Unfortunately, he's not gonna get on the bill because he is a whip, and it served the president more if he stays whip in the Senate, so he can maybe whip the vote in his favor than if he wasn't whip. And that doesn't sit very well with Frank, so he plans a revenge scheme, and then the rest of the series is about that revenge scheme and something more. So that's the setup for this series. However, there are a lot of shit happens until we get to Season 6. And since you clicked the video and you saw the title was Season 6 Review, then I don't think you might getting spoiler what's gonna happen in Season 6. So, here we go. So Frank Underwood has unfortunately died of a heart attack since the former season, and Claire is now the president of the United States, the first female president of the United States, and she is in a shithole because of everything that happened up until her becoming president and Frank stepping down. She now has to try and win over the public. She now has to try and win over the Senate and Congress and everything, and she's not looking good. In the meantime, she tries to find out who killed Frank Underwood, and also, can she trust Doc Stambers? We don't know, but probably not. And that's basically the whole season. There's not much more to add to it, which is not good. Yeah, let's just jump into it. So what do I like about this season? Well, I like how Claire handles herself as the forefront runner of this series, the main person, and the fact that she's now able to talk to the audience like Frank was in the former seasons. She is every bit as cunning as her husband was, and she does make some interesting plays, and she does interact in a funny or interesting way with the audience. There also was some great character moments for different characters, but besides that, there's only a few good more things I can say about the season. First of all, the acting is solid, but then again, this is a very well produced series, so I didn't thought it was gonna be sucky acting. And the production value in itself is also amazing, so you can't really put your finger on that aspect. However, everything else is completely and utter shit. And here's why. The story is missed. It doesn't know what kind of story it wants to tell. It doesn't know what it wants to do with the characters. It doesn't know what it wants to do with earlier plot points from earlier in the series. It doesn't know what it wants to do, except maybe it wants to shock you. And that is pretty much it. If you never watch this season, you will miss nothing in the overarching story. Nothing at all. And that is my main problem with this season. And that kind of leads me into the other point of this video. So in case you were sleeping under a rock or something, last year was the big #MeToo movement. We found out there was a lot of sexual harassment going on in the movie business, especially in Hollywood, but not excluding everywhere else where there is a movie business. And one of the accused was Kevin Spacey, because apparently a long time ago, I think in the 80s or something, I can't remember the specific, he allegedly made some sexual advancement on a 14-year-old kid that time. And now this man has confront and say, I did that. And Kevin Spacey handled it not so well, saying that he might have done it. He's not sure, he can't remember it, but hey, I'm gay. So of course there was a lot of backlash for that, and since he might have done it but we wasn't sure, he was fired from almost every project he was on, including House of Cards. Here's my problem with that. Of course it is wrong, it is extremely wrong if he actually did those things. I don't know if he did it or didn't. I'm not here to discussing that part. However, to begin with, they were just shutting down the production of this series. So I need to get this straight. So because of one person, you are willing to just lay off almost 100,000 people who are working on this series, and is now standing without a job because of one person. And I know, of course, you need to take into account what the crime was, but these was allegations. But anyway, that's not my main point. My main point is that this series was going into its final season. That was stated. This season is something that thousands, if not millions of people have been following for the past 5 years. We want this story to end, and we think it deserves a great ending. But by taking Kevin Spacey out of the equation, even though that what he did has nothing to do with this production, yeah, I know there's a lot of stories behind the scenes that he might have been an asshole. I don't know. I don't care about this at the moment. The writers were now forced to do a 180 to create a new season that wasn't planned for the former season. If you don't know, this season was supposed to be Claire versus Frank. It was about him wanting to be pardoned and get on with his life, and her trying to becoming her own person and stuff like that, which this season kind of touched upon. But since now Kevin Spacey was fired, they needed to kill him off and then try to go on without him. And holy fucking shit, a mess. But anyway, to get back to my earlier point, so they sacrificed this whole season because of this thing. And again, I understand that Netflix wanted to distance themselves because #MeToo was in its heyday at that point. But still, it's allegation. Nothing has been proven yet. I might get flagged for this because that's my personal opinion, but I don't think it was the correct move to just fire him right then and there. To me personally, it's kind of the same thing as it was with James Gunn on Guardians of the Galaxy season 3, or not season 3, volume 3. He was fired for something he said a long time ago, something that they were completely aware of at the time. And then you go to Pirates of the Caribbean and look back at what Johnny Depp's allegation has been, because apparently he was beating his wife or stuff like that and being very unpleasant. That is okay, apparently. But him saying stuff in the past and then he has changed because he is a normal human being and people change over time, that's not good, even though they knew it. Oh, and then there is your main actor, Robert Downey Jr. He has been arrested of drug abuse and driving under influence multiple times, but he's okay because he's making you a lot of money. So this hypocritical thing is just annoying, and then it gets in the way of finishing a product that fans are loving. Do you really think that people are gonna stop watching House of Cards because these allegations of Kevin Spacey? No, they are not. I didn't stop watching Naked Gun 1 to 3 when I found out that O.J. Simpson was allegedly a murderer, even though he got out scot-free. I'm pretty sure he did it, but that's not the point. I still watch those movies because I take them for what they are, not what one person in there did. Anyway, this is getting extremely sidetracked. I'm pretty sure I am forcing the wrong perspective onto you anyway. So because of the #MeToo, Netflix panicked and fired Kevin Spacey, and now they had to create this season. And here is where the hypocrisy comes into full view. Netflix wrote off Kevin Spacey's character, and then they tried to distance themselves and trying to say that this series could be its own thing without him. But then they just didn't, because the whole season does the same thing. It wants to distance itself from Frank Underwood, and yet they keep making him extremely important for the story in the 6th season. He's always there. It always comes back to him. It's always about him. It can't escape Frank Underwood, just like this series can't escape Kevin Spacey. Why make it if you want to send a message, but you just send the opposite message? You're shooting yourself in the foot. And it kind of annoys me when you're just making decisions without thinking about people who have been following this for such a long time. It's kind of what's happening with the Star Wars at the moment. And again, I'm not saying that this would neglect Kevin Spacey's allegations. If he did it, of course he should be punished. It is a wrong thing to do. But why would you fire him completely? Why not just shoot a couple of scenes that will then transist this series into its final stages? Why not do that? Why just cut it completely off? You're still firing him. He's still not getting paid as much as you would like to, but you're respecting your audience. So that's one of the reasons this season sucked ass. And I mean, holy shit, it choked down on some ass. But that's not the main problem, even though that it is one of the reasons. And it's one of those that irritated me the most. The reason is that this season accomplished nothing. It accomplishes nothing. Why does this season exist? Honestly, why does it exist? Is it because the former season ended on a cliffhanger? Well, guess what? This one does too. And I read some articles that they wanted to engage the audience, involve the audience in the storytelling. And since we have been part of this story from the moment that Frank Underwood looked into the camera and told us what useful pain and useless pain is, we have been part of this journey. And now they wanted to put Claire and just everything around her in a scenario where it is up to us, the audience, to come up with our own ending, because that is what this series has been about all along. No, this series has been about one thing and one thing only. Frank Underwood wants to promote himself, and he doesn't shy away from killing and lying and just using resources in a wrong way to promote himself forward. It's about showing what's going on in every political system on the planet Earth, because everyone is out for themselves. Yes, they are elected in for the people, but in the end, they're only in this for themselves. They're only trying to promote their own agenda. And we see that the more Frank he tries to bend the rules and break the rules to fuel his own agenda, the more it all comes crumbling down on him and pressuring him. The pressure keeps building up until he had to step down for being a president and let Claire take over. So we want to see all this investigation, all this lying and demeanor come either crumbling down on him or him finding some fucked up way to get out of this situation and come on top. It was two scenarios that we wanted the series to end on. Either he went down or he came on top. That is the only two. But this series didn't have the balls to do either of those two things. The whole season centers around who killed Frank Underwood. What is going on with the investigation that the reporters have been going throughout every fucking season about Frank and all those crimes that he has committed. It even sets up some new questions about nuclear war. Who's gonna be vice president? It sets up some new villains with the Shepherds. It sets up a lot of things and it does nothing with it. Nothing at all. It just wants to make sure you have enough unanswered question so you go, well, it is justified that this is an open ending. No, it is not fucking justified. You need to give the audience enough information so they can make up their own ending. You don't fucking read the first pages of the book and then you just imagine the rest of it. That's not how things works. And when you set up these things and don't resolve them or pay them off in any way, you can't help but wonder, what was the point of setting this thing up? What did you want to tell with this? And the thing is, they didn't want to tell anything. They just want to finish this series off without Kevin Spacey's character. But why? If you want an ambiguous ending, leave it at season 5, where Frank is saying he's going to kill Claire if she doesn't pardon him. That is an ambiguous ending. You still don't know if the investigation about Frank Underwood and Claire Underwood and the thing with Tom is gonna resolve, but at least they don't pump it up anymore. And even though that is gonna be a sucky, ambiguous ending, it is at least better than this shithole. I don't know, this might seem like I'm just bitching about this season, and I am, but it was just so poorly handled. I think if they have spent just one more year on production, writing, and making sure that there was a reason that they made this season, it would actually have resolved on top. Even if they didn't show Kevin Spacey at all in the season like they did here, they could still make it interesting, because in the end you were just pretty sure that at least one person had to die or suffer the consequences of all the demeanor they had brought. But no. And the most irritating thing is that House of Cards was a very good series. It was even a great series. Yes, it had its ups and downs. Some of the plot points was drawn out and boring and not interesting enough. And the best season is still the first season, where Frank Underwood is kind of the underdog trying to be vice president. But still, I think that the 5th season was good, because we slowly saw all the lies around him come crumbling down and putting pressure on him, and he kind of only saw one way out of prison. And even though that I really want to see the Frank versus Claire fights in season 6 and we didn't get it, I still think there was a room enough to finish this season off where we asked the most important questions. What's going to happen to Claire? What's going to happen to the relationship with Russia and Syria? And what is going to happen with the investigation that Zoe started back in season 1? What's gonna happen here? But no, it just end up in nothing. Nothing get resolved, you get nothing out of it. And I'm not gonna blame everything on #MeToo, because that was an important movement. But I do think that some things suffered that it just didn't have to. People blew it up to more than it was. Rape allegations and people who got raped or sexual harassed, yes, that is wrong. But then there is the other thing, where you blow up #MeToo so much that now men doesn't feel like that they can say hi or compliment their female co-workers with how they look. And there's nothing more in it than, hey, you look great today. That's sexual harassment. Really? So this is one of the series that suffered hard because of the hashtag #MeToo. I'm kind of mad about it, but then again, it's just a series, so who's gonna give a shit? I only give a shit because this season just didn't need to happen. They just had to kill off the series after that Kevin Spacey got fired. This just said, this is the ending you're gonna get, nothing else. But no, they had to end it in a much, much worse way. And then there's the thing that Claire wanted to be pregnant with Frank's frozen sperm. That was a plot point. Oh, and also there is a couple of episodes in this 8-episode long season where they just wasted because they want Claire to seem like she's not fitted to be president. She's just heartbroken. Everything is against her. But of course it is a plan. But there's no consequences to the plan, except she kind of wins, but then she kind of doesn't. But then the series ends, and then you just go... I'm going in circles. I am very passionate about this series only because of the ending. The ending is horseshit. It shits on everything. It shits on the characters. It shits on the purpose of this series. It shits on everything. And how do you rate this series? Because the series in its own right is worth watching in cinema and entertainment guaranteed. But I'm not reviewing the first 5 seasons. I'm reviewing the 6th one. And the 6th season of House of Cards, you should burn it with fire. So yeah, that's a new rating for you. It's not that I'm coming up with this rating as I go on. I have every rating planned out from the beginning. And in case you were wondering, yes, I have one more bad rating in me, and it's the worst rating of all. But I won't spoil it until I see something that is so hard shit that I need to give it that rating. I kind of hope I won't see something like that. But anyway, so this is the new worst rating, in case you didn't catch that. But anyway, House of Cards season 6, have you seen it? What do you think about it? And do you feel the same frustrations that I did? Or do you think that what it pulled off was actually meaningful? And what do you think about my statement about the hashtag #MeToo movement? Again, remember that it was important, but I think that some things suffered that didn't need to suffer from it. Whatever you think, comment below and leave your thoughts. And as always, until see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. See ya. Fucking bullshit.